Okay. Hey everyone, this is our noon big group call. So excited to see so many of your faces on here. And we have a special guest star today. I wanted to take this chance because I know she's busy at work and can't really do other time slots. And so I was like, well, I just want to do this on the big team call because Victoria she just hit level 4 glam. Let's talk about that. I have not even hit level 1 yet. So just FYI, if you haven't hit level 1 yet, don't worry. I will earn the trip for 2 if it's the last thing I do. But it's pretty extraordinary what she's been able to do in a very, very short period of time. And so I wanted to take like a quick, 10 minutes out of this call and let her share what she's doing. Are you at 7 now, Victoria? 7 new stylists this month and over 7,000 in sales and crazy, insane. Okay. And then you're also going to have a chance to hear Sam, who is the other kind of crazy power sponsor this month. She's going to be on our sponsoring Zoom. So that's at 1:45 to 2:15. So you'll be able to hear kind of both of what they're doing. So I know I'm going to take avid notes. So I'm going to mute myself. And Victoria, you're on.
Hey guys, so first of all, I apologize for the lack of makeup today. I did not know I was going to be on this call, and I thought of today as like more of a chill day for my pores, but anyway. So yes, I am so excited, and I first just want to preface by saying on the live with Jenny the other day, I talked about how I had this 3 to 4 month business hiatus where like I just felt like I wasn't doing anything, and why would anyone want to be on my team if I didn't even have a strong personal business? And so I just didn't talk about it. But I am joining this other group through our regional sales directors, and they asked me what the highlight for my team was in 2018. And I realized I had no real highlight for my team because I wasn't growing. I had rapid growth like at the end of 2015 into 2016. My first year with Stella & Dot, I had great growth in 2017. And then I just like stopped talking about it. And it's so quick, your team can go from like 120 stylists to like 40 if you just stop talking about it and you stop coaching. And like you can't ever get to this point in this business where you stop talking about it. So I realized like, I had this like moment of like humility, and I was like, getting the emails about stylists, not choosing to renew. And it was so discouraging. And I allowed that like discouragement to keep me from bringing in new. And, both my upline and Kelly have always said, new is the glue. And it truly is. That was one thing that, I went back to my first and second year reports, and I realized that's exactly what I was doing. I was just bringing on new people, bringing on new people, bringing on new people. And I thought that I had talked to everybody. And then when I got to a point where I thought I talked to everybody, I was just going to coach the girls that I had brought on. Sometimes, 2, 3, 4, 5 stylists can decide that this isn't for them anymore. And you can do so much convincing of trying to keep them, on your first line, second line, whatever it is. But if you aren't re-sponsoring, you aren't bringing in those new girls. So I just wanted to kind of first start out by sharing that my team was dwindling majorly in 2018. And I think it was just about getting back in the same headspace that I was at when I first joined this company. And that's that everybody wants to be a part of something that you are so truly excited about. And I had to get back to that like center of joy because I had lost that a lot. And of course, like I had a lot of other great things going on in my life. I moved, I got a great job. I competed for Miss Virginia again. I had so many other goals. And so it was hard to actually recognize that I was losing Stella & Dot a little bit. And I didn't want that to happen. So you have to rebuild, and it's never too late to rebuild. Sam Tunador has a really inspiring story as well about losing, a really big leader on her team or 2 big leaders on her team, and how she had to rebuild like a whole pool of people. And if she can do it, then I can do it too. So everyone that I've sponsored this month has pretty much been on my list, or at least 4 of the girls have been on my list from like 3 months ago up until when I started Stella & Dot. They were on my follow-up list. And I just realized I'd been like a year and a half without talking to 2 of them. And that's embarrassing. So they could have started a lot sooner, and that was my fault. If that's their regret of not starting sooner, I feel like that's my fault. So now I have to be twice as great of a coach to them because I waited so long to ask. Okay.
I love it. Okay, so Victoria, let's talk numbers. The 7 that you've signed up, how many would you say you logistically have reached out to? And how are you reaching out?
So, okay, I have a little bit of a wide variety with the 7. So 3 of them, like I said, they've been on my list for quite a while. One of them I've known for 2 years. I reached out to her a couple of times. She had just gotten out of college. She started a job. So I was kind of sympathizing with that a little too much versus just being like, hey, you should dive in, and I was a little bit more hesitant to reach out to her because I was sympathetic to her financial situation. But then like when the special came about, even last year, the $199 for $450, I reached out again, and I realized it had been like a whole year since I reached out to her this month. And so I think like if you just do a few touches, which I did with one other girl, I think I'd reached out to the other girl that signed up this month like 6 times. She was also with another direct sales company. And so I didn't want her to feel like she, was like I was being pushy. So again, like I was like prejudging versus just like going about my normal reach outs. And yeah, the other one was actually a referral from a friend. So you can't ever like, knock away customers that don't want to be a stylist because they might have friends that do want to be a stylist. And so if you're kind of giving off that really good vibe, you might lead somebody else's friend to your page. Like Erin, my upline will post like recognition stuff on my page so people know that I'm still active with Stella and Dad, that I'm doing, big things or whatever. And that like led this referral to me because she saw that I was, probably going to be a good coach. I was really active with the business. And so I think that branding and getting your upline to help brand you as well. Like sometimes I have to remind Erin to post like, hey, can you post that on my page? Like I really want to get some more stylists on my team. Like, and she gets so busy and everything. And I get busy as an upline too. So sometimes she'll post on my new stylist page about like their quick start and stuff. But I think that personal branding and helping, your first line stylist and even your second line stylist feel like they're doing a good thing, someone on their page is watching that. And so that's how I got one of my stylists this month. And I'm just going to keep going because I kind of have just like a running list of people that I've sponsored. Let's see, another girl, another girl, she wanted to sign up with Stella and Dad. She'd been a stylist before, but she hadn't really or that stylist was no longer active when she wanted to rejoin. So she had to figure out like who she was going to sign up under because she didn't just want to apply at random. And so she had 26 mutual friends with me. Her and I weren't even on Facebook like as friends. And she reached out to our mutual friends and was like, hey, do you know of a Victoria Naden? She apparently sells Stella and Dot. I'm thinking about selling it. So again, like all my mutual friends were like, yeah, she's doing really well with Stella and Dad. I know she's been a stylist for a few years. Like all of that chatter really, really helps, obviously, because that's how I was able to get her on my team this month. And now her and I are having like new stylist training calls. She just sold like $100, and like now I'm able to really connect with her, even though we weren't necessarily in that place from the beginning. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I don't know, like what else? Let's see. So, the one girl I reached out to because of the government shutdown. So really being aware of your environment and what like opportunities are being presented to you, because one of my stylists, she's almost qualified. She had reached out to me because she was obviously going through financial hardships, and Michelle Gilbert, I know, can really relate to this. And so now she's sold like almost back what she paid for the starter kit. And so just again, being aware of your surroundings. What's up, Jess?
Victoria, I have a question for you. So when reaching out to what I would consider like a cold prospect, so you haven't talked to them before, are you warming them up at all? Or are you just going straight for that? You should totally do this with me.
Totally doing that.
Okay, that's awesome.
So Yeah, if it's someone like the way that I make my cold list is like someone that maybe hasn't bought from me before, but they like my post, or someone that maybe bought like through a trunk show that I haven't talked to in a while. It could be someone that like I think she looks absolutely beautiful and she works in retail, or something where I feel like I can have like just like an ounce of a connection with. Even just saying like, "Hey, Brittany, I absolutely love those pictures with your kids. You know, I'm actually a stylist with Stella and Dot. I'm sure that you know, but I just wanted to say that you seem like you'd be a really great fit for this, and I would love like have you ever considered it before, or are you open to considering it? Or we have an awesome sign up special this month. Like, what would you think of doing that? Like, call me crazy. Like, I kind of just switch up my words to say, but keeping it definitely like under 2 sentences, because I think when they read like these long paragraphs of things with like numbers and stuff, like they're just not gonna go for that. I'm trying to think like
I have a question. Okay. So I have so many customers at this point, 7 years of being a stylist. I am surprised that I don't have more people that are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a stylist, but my friend would be. What words have you said? Because it sounds like people are viewing your social media and being like, and connecting through that way. Have you posted something on Facebook or whatever saying like, if you know anybody, or how have those referrals come? Not that if you don't know, that's also fine. But how have those referrals come about?
Yeah, so for me, like I think it's pretty much just like connecting with people one-on-one. So if someone's ordering from me or whatever and I mention the stylist opportunity to them and they say no, I'm like, oh, like, do you know of anybody else who'd be a great fit? Like, you just seem like you have a great social circle of women, people who would be like really stylish and fun. Maybe they could like add this onto their life. And I kind of just plant that seed, and like Danielle talks about, like, and then you walk away. Like, you know what I mean? So then like maybe I'll follow up with her to see how she's liking her piece, and then see like, so I don't really post anything publicly. I think that those like once in a blue moon, you're going to get someone that asks you about it, and that starts the conversation with you. And I think that that's where like one of my stylists came from this month. But as far as like initiating the conversation about a referral, that's something that I do just one-on-one.
And I totally think that's the best way to do it. But I find that it's, all right, you don't want to be a stylist, but do you want to book a trunk show? But do you want to join Style Club? But do you have any friends? Like, I just feel like I'm peppering so much that I just need to get better at figuring out when to plant those certain seeds and like spacing them out. And
yeah,
you know what I mean? So, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. I even have my new stylist, like one of my new stylists right now. She's like, how do you decide whether to reach out to someone for the first time about sponsoring or reach out to them about a trunk show? And of course, we talk about starting out with sponsoring, but she also like really would like to hit her quick start. And so I think like just coaching the person to book the show and flip the hostess is probably the like what I do with my new stylist. And it's also glam earning and everything. So they don't want to, but at the same time, like, I feel like they need confidence in booking those shows. And then if that person, they talk to about becoming a stylist, if they want to flip her, then they can. But if not, they still have the trunk show. Like, that's how I look at it. And so, again, just like dropping the seed. I know that Ashley had a question, but I can't figure out where it went. Is she on?
Ashley said, for cold reach outs like that, do you include an image or anything?
No image. Just like a quick 2-sentence. If it's too much for them to look at. Okay, I look at this as like, if I'm sitting back and I am the most skeptical person to direct sales, which I used to be, I just really don't remember her anymore. If I'm the most skeptical person to direct sales, I'm going to be like, okay, who's coming at me today? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to ask me to join their, residual bullcrap today? All right. So I think like that when I'm messaging people, very like cautious about it, but also like they probably are going to feel like you are the most refreshing person ever if you're just asking them a 2-sentence or less question with no like thoughtful image or anything, just like, hey girl, oh my gosh, your post is so cute. Like, have you ever considered being a stylist? Or have you ever thought about like doing this alongside me? Anything like that, like just a really casual question. That's hands down what I do. If once they respond, lately my responses have been, oh, okay, what all does that entail? Or, oh, like what would I have to do? Or what's the joining cost? Because you're asking them such a simple question that it sounds like a simple thing to do.
I love that. Have you ever thought about doing this alongside me? Like, that's really cute.
My new stylist just sponsored by asking them.
Yeah, so simple, and it's just an open-ended question that it leaves the ball in their court to have to say something back, versus giving them a big sponsoring pitch. That's brilliant. Oh, Victoria, that was amazing. Any last questions for her before we dive in for the last 10 minutes? Okay, perfect. Thank you. You are so sweet. I know you're at work right now. So I would love to get some feedback from all of you and hear from you so far how things are going, what you need over the next, obviously we've got 8 days left of this amazing sign-on special, and we're going to keep right on sponsoring once it's over. But I would love to see a couple of things. One, I'd love to see us all get in front of as many people as we can over the next 8 days, because I put it on the thread, but I went and almost canceled 5 times. My hairdresser's like, yeah, you can pop up. I mean, she's in a little room in like a building full of rooms. Like it's not like I was in a big salon with people bustling all around me. I mean, I was in a little room, and I said, would you mind if I come and do a pop-up? we have a great special this month, and I'd love to get in front of some strangers. And she's like, yeah, oh my gosh, you can totally come. Well, I mean, I was into this really good book. If you haven't read Where the Crawdads Sing, it's amazing. So I was like, it's Saturday. I'm going to have sports games the whole second half of the day. I almost talked myself out of going 100 times. And I showed up and sponsored the girl that was getting her hair in the room done at the time. I just sat there and chit-chatted with them, and I had a cute little display, and I have 3 or 4 other people who came in and are thinking about it as well, some of the other local hairstylists. So I would love to see everybody get in front of as many people as we can over the next 8 days. I'm doing a pop-up at my hot yoga place tomorrow. That's 1. 2, I would love for all of you who are sponsoring, I would love to see if we could go for almost 100% bring along a friend. So if that's something you haven't been talking to your new stylist about and making it really till you're kind of blue in the face, it's going to be so much easier for them to bring along a friend before the 5th than it will be after the 5th. So I definitely would love to figure out a way that we can get all of those new stylists bring along a friend this month. And we have a breakout Zoom about that, but that's definitely, I think, top priority. So if you have sponsored this month, imagine if you sponsored 3 this month and everyone does that, that's 6 new people on your team. The other big thing is one thing I have noticed myself doing, and it's funny, I was talking to Lauren Sigler, and she said she found herself doing this with the big Maven group, is she got so caught up in the group that she was with of these high achievers, and everybody's pacing, and there's so many great conversations, and she's thriving on that. And that's what I'm kind of tempted to do right now. Like, y'all are so refreshing and inspiring and motivating that I'm putting a lot of my time and effort into this group. And I'm kind of maybe forgetting about the rest of my team. On our Show Me the Money call, Christine and I and Cheryl were digging into our reports, and I sorted by first lines and realized only 4 people in my first line have sponsored this month. And I was like, I see all these big sponsoring numbers in my downline, but in my first line, it's really only 4 new stylists, and I only have 1 too, and there's 4 other people that have 1 stylist each. So I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of missing the big picture. I'm putting all my effort into Maven, and I'm forgetting about the rest of my team. I even look back on my personal Gen page, and I've like been very scant on there. I've been very scant on our leader page. So I think something important to keep in mind for all of us is use this pacing group as a way to like raise your own personal bar in your personal business, but don't forget about your team. Don't forget about going back and sharing all of these amazing actions that you're doing with them. Keeping them in the loop, letting them know you're here, letting them know you would love to chat with them. And because it is really easy to get drawn to the workers versus realizing there's a whole group of people. We like, for example, this $1,000 limit. We just need to talk about that till we're blue in face and see how many of those hobbyists, or even people who have 200 right now, getting them to 500 so they can get that instant $50 at the end of the month. So I think really making sure that when we figure out our week. Our personal business is obviously our top priority, but not like, what is that saying? Missing the forest for the trees. And making sure we're scheduling in all of that awesome team time and knowing that the things that are gonna really grow our paycheck are really building a good, strong first line, and New is the glue and all of that, having a big sponsoring month ourselves, but helping especially our first lines do the same thing, because that's going to bring in a lot of volume this month too. So just take a second. On our Show Me the Money call last week, we have a little challenge to kind of go through and do a month over month analysis of where our paycheck was coming from. So we are all really clear about that. But think about that this week in particular, these next 8 days, we have the chance to significantly impact the trajectory of this Q1 based on how many people sponsor, especially in our personal generation and our first lines. So kind of keep that in mind. And I would love to hear from you all really quickly over the next like 6-7 minutes before we hop off, where you're kind of seeing holes in your business or in your team's business, and how we can use this group to escalate that or to make that better or stronger. So whoever wants to unmute themselves, I'd love to hear. And think about like maybe when you're filling out your tracker, how all of these different things play into how we can leverage this for the growth of your whole team. So who has an idea or a question? Anybody? Anyone see anything, like any particular Zooms you would love to see? I didn't do a booking one this week. I kind of figured sponsoring is the top thing on everybody's mind. How can we get our teams sponsoring? How can we get our hobbyists sponsoring this week? What are some things that we can do to help a lot of people bring along a lot of people in the next 8 days?
Well, I would like to, maybe this is I guess like sidling what you just said, but my team is asleep. Like everybody but who is on this call right now from my team is asleep. And I would love to hear from you guys what you are doing to get your team re-engaged. I've sent out a team newsletter. I have sent text messages. I hosted a New York City meetup last night, which went really well, by the way. Shout out to Avril for sponsoring. Shout out to myself for sponsoring. I just don't know what to also do to wake people up. Or do I mean, I understand New is the glue, but like, I also have like 70 other people that I would like to come alive again. Like,
yeah, did you see the video that I sent out? I did a little quick video about the new sampling product credit. I think that's the fastest way to get hobbyists doing something. I think, so I did a little quick video. I posted it on the Facebook thread, but I can text you personally if you want me to. And it was just hey, oh my gosh, I wanted to make sure you saw this. This is huge. Goodbye coupon. Goodbye having to wait till the end of the quarter for free product. Like, I know so many of us signed on because we love this amazing product and we want as much as we can get. $1,000 is the new 500. And here's what it looks like. And then I'm here. If you have any goals you're shooting for the summer, I'd love to chat with you and see how I can be of service. And I did that to every single person in my personal generation. And I just one video and I just took the time and texted it out, and I got a lot of good responses, and that got some conversations going. But I think it's pretty normal.
Recording it first and then just sending it that same
message. And I said it general enough that it could apply. It sounded specific to them, but it was general enough that I could do the same one every time. And I think, keep in mind, it's pretty normal for people to still be pretty much sleeping at this time. It is generally the workers that kick back in, but I almost want to do another one now, or maybe even layer it into the ones, and you haven't done it yet, about sponsoring and how, if they're part of your personal generation, you are going to, help coach that person to success. So don't be afraid to bring along a friend, because we can get you an $800 shopping spree, or we can get you this bonus or whatever else.
Gotcha.
What else? Is anyone else doing anything good to kind of get good re-engagement with your team?
I have a question, not reference to maybe engagement, but I think when I'm touching base with my downline and my second downline, a lot of the feedback that I'm hearing is, I'm stuck, I have no one else to outreach to, and I've worked through the who do you know list, let's get outside of that circle. So I'm definitely being creative in that respect, but how do I don't want them to throw in the towel, and I'm worried that's about to happen with like my girls that are a week in. And so what kind of motivation do you recommend? How do you get them to be like, you can do this?
So I always coach like in baby steps, and the first step is launching. Have those girls all launched?
All of them but one.
Okay, that's amazing. And then did they get their 1,000?
No, so that's where we're struggling to get that 1,000.
Okay, so I mean, I definitely would show them how to do share bags and tell them how important personal reach out is and kind of being that personal stylist for their customers. And then also, I would encourage them to get out in public as well. But I mean, those kind of basic things about going through your who do you know list, making sure they understand that it's a numbers game, and give them some short, simple, easy words to reach out. And I think just letting them know to run the numbers. So I think the biggest thing that happens with new stylists is they get those first couple of notes and they stop reaching out. So letting them know that's normal, I think is pretty important. But I also think that the bring along a friend bonus is kind of a definite conversation starter too, because you're like, all we have to do is get, you do 1,000 and then one buddy doing the same thing. Or if you have a show the first week of February, and then you have a buddy do the same thing in February, boom, you get another $800. I think those small baby steps of success are important. And making a huge deal when they do things that are going to build their business. That reinforcement, that kudo, Victoria just talked about it, their public kudo on their personal page does so much for their personal business. And their friends are looking at them. There's something weird that happens when your friends start to know you're doing well with it, that all of a sudden they come on board. When they think you suck at it, they're like in the background. But the second they think you're good, they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to shop with you. Which kind of stinks that that's the way it is, but it is the way it is. People feel like all of a sudden that someone's doing well with it. They're all into it and all on board. So make sure with those stylists, make a really big deal on their personal page about them launching and how great it was and how much their friends and family loved it and that sort of thing.
Michelle, you could also like walk through with them, ask them like, okay, so tell me who you've already reached out to. Because it probably isn't that many people. Like, there's no way if they've been a stylist for 1 week that they've reached out to every person that they know. Like, we know that, but they are only reaching out to like their comfortable list. And maybe they have gotten like 1 or 2 no's from people that they thought would be in their corner. So it just might be like giving them a little bit more TLC on actually like making a list of people.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I always, the first thing I say to people when they're like, oh my gosh, I can't book a trunk show, everybody's saying no. I'm like, okay, so tell me exactly who you've talked to so far. And it's usually 4 people. So if you ask them rather than tell them, exactly like Charlotte just said, if you ask them very quickly, they're going to be like, oh, well, I asked my mom and she said no because of this. And then my Aunt Sally said no because of this. And then you're like, okay, so we know it takes talking to 10 to book 1. So for these first 4, we're going to talk to 40 people. So like I said, let's sit down and come up with a list together of the different people you can reach out to.
I used to hate it when Charlotte would make me tell her who I reached out to.
Yes, that's the honesty moment, right? And that actually is a perfect segue, Virginia, to the end of the call. Accountability. Like, how do we feel? Because honestly, it shook me into action this month that I knew I had to do 4 events. I probably, had I not been part of this group, would have absolutely just had my $1,500 in $.dollar sales and then my own personal show, and I probably would have had $3,000 or $4,000 in sales, and I would have just run with that. But because I was part of this group and I knew I had to have my 4, I went out of my comfort zone and I booked 3 more pop-ups because I was getting no's for shows. So what can we do in this group? Like, do you feel like the Google Doc where everyone can see what you're doing is enough? Or do we need something else to make us like, okay, if we get on this call every week and have to say what we did, are we going to be more likely to do it? What do we think? How much of an accountability do you think is going to play a part in you taking action? Because like I said, I probably would have canceled that hair pop-up had I not been part of this. So I know the fact that I'm like, okay, I cannot, I was like, I have got to sponsor at least 1 person, but I'm going for many, many more. What do we think? Is the Google Doc enough?
I mean, people aren't using Google Docs, so I don't know if that's necessarily working for the accountability part. I don't know.
Why is no one using the Google Doc? Why are people not filling it out?
Either they're forgetting about it or they don't think it's maybe important or necessary enough. Yeah. And this is total speculation.
Why don't we just become more aggressive with everybody filling out the Google Doc?
The thing is, I don't want this to turn into is me like being a babysitter or y'all, but you know what I mean? I don't want to have to be like, you didn't fill your Google Doc, you didn't fill your Google. I mean, that would take hours of time to follow up with that. But I do think Charlotte was saying how when she was in the other Maven group, it was really helpful for her, but she loved going and saying like, okay, Kim Jensen just did this. I'm going to go see what she's actually done this week. And she would like go peek on her page and be like, oh my gosh, she sponsored like 8, or she's done this, or she's done that. So hopefully it's just technical error, and we'll get into where people are using that regularly. But I think you're right. I don't know if it's enough to like kind of, so I'm wondering if we need to use this call. I know, Charlotte, when y'all did the Big Maven, didn't you use this call a lot for having to discuss what you did or didn't do?
We didn't necessarily say what we did or didn't do. It was like, we would kind of chat through like, okay, what's going well? What do people need help with? And sort of like coach each other on things. I mean, that was also different because like, if you didn't do it, you were going to get like kicked out of getting the bonuses. So like,
that's kind of what I was thinking. If they don't do it, do they get kicked out?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. There's really no, and this is going to sound bad, there's no incentive to do all the accountability actions because it's just your personal accountability. It's like, okay, I'm going to book 4 shows and sponsor 1 or 2 because I know that's going to move my business forward. Not like
you have to do it to get the spa day. So the way I'm looking at the spa day is like you have to do all 6 months of it, and you have to have 4 qualified shows, and you have to have 1 new qualified stylist per month to be able to even be eligible for that. But the biggest thing is we all came to this not because of a spa day or because of some final incentive. We came to this because we want to grow our business. So at some point, it's got to be intrinsically motivated. If you know you came to this call because you want to dramatically increase your paycheck and you want to dramatically grow your team and grow your business, that's when kind of self-discipline kind of comes about. But so I feel like mostly my business has always been intrinsically motivated, but the fact that I knew I had to post those numbers and that any of y'all could go look at those numbers made me go out and do it. So if I don't know, I know for me, it would, Avril, what were you going to say?
I just want to say I probably represent what might be happening, so I don't want you guys to get discouraged. I think it was just miscommunication. For example, I am filling it out right now only because I thought I did it once. I actually thought you were tracking. So I was going to send you a personal message to say, I have like a ton on my schedule, but you may not see it. So short version is, let's just remind everyone that we need to do it on a weekly basis. I truly thought I'd do it once. You're going to track it, that sort of thing. It was just lost in translation with everything else that was going on.
Totally.
It's great. We're doing great. It's just miscommunication.
Yeah, and I think that's a very small part of it. But I do think that if you're talking to your team that's a part of this group, make sure they understand that this is a high-level pacing group. This is not a drag along anybody to do anything they don't want to do group. This is the go-getters around the go-getters who want to be inspired by each other and motivated by each other. But you, just like everything in this business, it's only going to happen if you do it. And it's only going to happen if I do it. So I don't want this to turn into like a whole, cracking the whip to get actions taken. This has got to be a self-motivated thing. And a self-motivated thing to like, if you want to work on sponsoring, don't just text the group about it. Get on the sponsoring Zoom or watch the recording of the sponsoring Zoom. We've got Sam featured today. Amy's online one was amazing. So if you want to learn about online shows, don't just ask questions on the thread, like get on and actually use the Tuesday topics truly as training. Like Christine's got on several today. And that's where I really want to kind of keep the training part on those. And I know a lot of you guys are at work, so you're going to do the recording, but the information's there and it's really good. And I'm going to send that out every week with the recordings. And then kind of use the other groups, the Marco Polos and the thread. Yes, you can ask questions on there, but also if it's something that like, how do I redeem my coupons or whatever else, talk to your upline about that. That's probably a better use because that'll cut down a little bit of the chatter on that big group thread so that we can actually not just be like, okay, there's 50,000 messages. I'm not even going to look at that.
I would use the thread or the Marco Polo more for accountability too, and share like what you're doing versus asking a question or looking for that training. Because like, I don't know about all of you. I mean, first of all, I'm motivated by filling out the Google Tracker thing because I'm motivated by every type of tracker. So that works well for me. But another thing that works well is like, if I share on the thread, like, here's what I'm doing today. And then I feel it, then I want to like report back and be like, I did it. Here's how it went. And then when I see other people doing that, I'm like, oh crap, like Christine's doing X, Y, and Z today. Maybe I should do something today. So I find that like more as a motivator versus just like chatter. Just a thought.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a really, really, really good point. And I love the idea about doing accountability on Marco Polo. Maybe we say the 1 minute that you do each week on Marco Polo has to be about your actions. And then it's like a 1 minute kind of report your actions to the group kind of thing.
But what if we do that with the thread too? Like if you are starting a conversation or the first one to post, you know, for that topic or whatever for the day in the thread, you have to share something that you've been working on or doing or working towards, or like accomplished goals that you've done that day.
Yeah, maybe before you can even ask a question, you have to show what you've done to try to answer that question on your own. Versus,
right, exactly.
You know, this turning into like instead of going to the lounge and figuring out where to find the codes, like asking someone because it's faster. So like I've already done these 3 things, but I still am curious about blah blah blah. And that's part of developing into leadership to you guys is that personal. I know it's easier. Sometimes we have this little thread with our executive leaders on it. It's so much easier just to go to there and ask a question versus looking it up myself. But I know it's like teaching a man to fish kind of thing. Like if you react to every single thing your team asks and go do it for them, they're never going to learn to do it for themselves. So, right. It's a little thing as well. Exactly. Okay, guys, we've gone way over time. It's 9 minutes over. So I love, love, love the ideas about Marco Polos for accountability and the thread for accountability. I actually think I am super energized by this group. Now we need to go out and get our teams doing what we've been doing. So we're upping our action, which is, I guarantee we're way far ahead of where we'd be in January had we not been a part of this. So now we just have to dissipate that down to our teams. So I'd say this week's goals really should be, first of all, I am going to challenge you guys in the next 8 days to try to pop up 2 places. So I think if you can get in front of people twice in public over the next 8 days, I think that would be a major game changer.